YouTuber Hank Green is currently having his nipples twisted by half the people on the internet due to an admission of using AI in his YouTube video. Hank Green is effectively one of the old gods of the internet. This dude has been making videos on the Vlogbrothers YouTube channel with his brother John Green, who is a published author, and he himself, not only together with his brother, invented VidCon for everybody to come together as content creators, but has also harbored a space for other content creators, artists, and he himself runs a number of channels on YouTube and companies that are all designed to make educational material to teach you about the world, the internet, science, physics, and what have you. How is it that somebody who has been so immortalized as an educator, as a role model here on YouTube, somebody who has spoken about the downsides of using AI infrastructure and large language models in this capacity, come to the point where he has started using them himself for his videos? And why is it that the people who have been following him for the better part of over a decade see this as a bad thing? A quick, too long didn't read of the series of events that have taken place over the course of the last 48 hours. Hank Green posts a video to the Complexity YouTube channel where he's interviewing YouTuber, TikToker Soupy Time. And in this interview, there is sort of a injectured interlude. It cuts to like him talking by himself. And one user on Twitter posts a clip of this section of Hank Green talking to himself and points to the fact that at one point he speaks as if he's reading off of a script that is very clearly written by AI. He specifically says, "and I appreciate the pushback," which a lot of people online have been claiming is a very clear hallmark traditional language used by Claude specifically, and it feels a little bit awkward that Hank would use this sort of language in a section of the video where he isn't talking to anybody. So what exactly do you mean by "I appreciate the pushback"? You're alone in a room. There is nobody pushing back here, Hank Green.
They matter. There's a thing in there that matters, and that's very cool. A better way to say it, and I appreciate the pushback, is a word is a human invention.
This now deleted post on Twitter, which was calling out Hank Green for what supposedly felt like AI usage in a video that he was making, sparked a lot of conversation around AI's integration into YouTube. Now, if this was anybody else, it would just be another case of, oh, people are blowing up because they feel like AI in all of its cases are bad, and some people can't accept the fact that AI has grown to the point where it is an incredibly useful tool for writers and researchers and blah, 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 whatever. People just want to pick something to get mad at for how sucky their life is. But Hank Green is not just any other YouTuber. Hank Green is somebody who has been making videos educating people on the knowledge of which is available to them when it comes to art, love, philosophy, science, and whatever else. This is very clearly one of the last people you would like to find out is using AI to write videos for them, write scripts for them on their YouTube channel, especially when a huge chunk of the channels that they operate, maybe not directly, but through the companies that they do, are aimed towards being educational. They're supposed to teach you things, and everybody knows that AI kind of sucks at getting stuff right. But here's the thing, clearly it's not that. Right? Clearly it's not that. Clearly this is somebody who's just got a little bit too much AI brain rot and is seeing normal people talking like normal humans and feels like their behavioral patterns or their speech patterns sound a little bit too much like AI. It probably speaks more to how much you spend time talking to AI than it does Hank Green talking to AI. This is somebody who has been making videos on the internet for longer than AI has existed in its modern term. Why would Hank Green, of all people, just start randomly using AI for a job he was already doing really solidly since before AI? It should be made of note that one of the channels or a couple of the channels that Hank Green has a hand in running, SciShow, Complexity, there's a number of YouTube channels that are run by him or his team that are designed to be educational or spread awareness of content creators, science, math, that sort of thing. What we can lovingly refer to as the knitting debacle. Sometime last year, maybe 2 years ago at this point, one of Hank Green's channels uploaded a video talking about the history of knitting. And it was met with a tremendous amount of pushback from the knitting community, believe it or not. And it isn't so much that there were esoteric aspects of this video that were difficult to encapsulate in layman's terms. That is to say that it wasn't like this knitting video had too much in-depth knitting stuff that people were like, oh, you couldn't possibly have gotten this right about knitting. Rather, a lot of the pushback that people were giving on this knitting video was the idea that they wrote this video as if it was like nobody could understand what knitting was about, or how textiles and weaving factored into the importance of the human legacy, up until the big, strong scientists and physicists came in, applied math to how knitting was done, and then it became something important. It felt extremely misogynistic. It felt anti-feminist. It felt anti-human for you to take a look at something that is as old as knitting and weaving and then work it into a video that made it feel as though none of it was important or mattered until we started to study the science and math behind it. And they were met with a ton of pushback on this video. Now that seems kind of irrelevant to an extent, because it's like, okay, cool, you didn't do the most, honest interpretation, good faith interpretation of how important knitting is, and the knitting community got upset. Wow, this must be the most Reddit headline I've ever heard. But it was the first crack in the armor of, sort of like the way that people viewed Hank Green's channel, Hank Green's work. These are things that you really shouldn't need to criticize. This is like getting mad at PBS or your local babysitter. Like, they're inherently trying to do something good for the benefit of you. This video is designed to try to be educational, try to teach you something, keep you more in the know about the fascinating aspects and facets of the things around you in your everyday life that you might not appreciate. But it felt a little bit too malicious. It felt like the quality of the videos that were being put out in this capacity were starting to suffer because of the pace of which they had to upload these videos. The research was suffering, and it was resulting in videos that started to feel more detrimental to the communities that they were supposed to be about than beneficial and educational, at least in this specific example. Now, there have been a number of people who have started to dig up other aspects of videos that Hank Green has done on his personal channel, and a few that he have done on SciShow, Complexity, and a number of others that all start to tie together into this notion of, hey, is Hank Green doing too much? Is he using too much AI? Is he doing something not related to AI that's resulting in bad fact-checking or poor research? Is it that all of these little mistakes that we can point to in the dozens and dozens of videos that have been released to him, could they all tie back to the same point? Could these all be pieces of evidence that show that maybe Hank Green, my goat, might be a bit washed, i.e., using AI for research? Now that you have a teeny bit of context to the criticism that people have been levying against a very small number of videos in the grand scheme of all the educational content that Hank Green releases onto YouTube for free, by the way, Hank Green ends up responding to this individual who posted the now deleted clip of him saying, and I appreciate the pushback, accusing him of using an AI script and reading directly off of it, because that's what it sounds like when you use that turn of phrase. And Hank Green responds to this individual on Twitter, and he states, I produced this under a ton of pressure. So I went and checked my process from start to finish. I did use ChatGPT for research on the script, and watching it, I definitely do get an AI feel. So I think it's fair to say that I was relying too much on generated notes. That's a thing I have been doing, and it's a bad habit at a time where I've overcommitted myself. But I just went through the notes and the script for this, and neither contained the phrase, I appreciate the pushback. So that particular moment was an ad lib in reference to my guest pushing back on me saying that the words are purely made up. So Hank Green did not use an AI-generated script. Hank Green just randomly used a phrase that sounded a lot like something that AI would say, completely ad-libbed, because he wasn't reading off of an AI script. Which answers the question, was Hank Green reading off of an AI script? Now, for the follow-up question of, does Hank Green use AI whatsoever, and not specifically for the script for this video, Hank Green willingly gives up the fact that, yes, I do use AI in my research and my notes. Self-admittedly, I feel like I probably rely too heavily on AI for my research and my notes. And this one little ad-lib wasn't in my AI-driven research and or notes. It just kind of sounds like AI, which, by the way, I just admitted to be using a little bit more than I feel comfortable, if I'm being honest with myself. Hank, I feel like the AI might have infiltrated your speech patterns a little bit, bro. I know at first it seems like this is just the equivalent of Googling, and this is sort of the conversation, the argument that a lot of people defending Hank Green here are making online, which is, listen, he very clearly stated that he is not using AI to write his videos for him. That would be a cardinal sin when it comes to Hank Green's community. Him and his brother John Green, who is a published author, have been making videos talking about these sorts of things for like 20 plus years. They talk about copyright infringement. They talk about copyright as it relates to YouTube videos. They talk about not suing people who make Nerd Fighters merch, that's sort of their brand, their YouTube channel, because they don't want to stop people making their own smaller versions of it. They don't want to put a blanket ban on any sort of copyright laws. They want some people to be able to make their own personal versions of their own stuff. They recognize the importance of intellectual property, theft, copyright, artistic integrity, and all of these other things. They're the ones who have taught us how to interpret these things. These have been our teachers, our role models when it comes to these sort of aspects and facets of the internet for 20 plus years. These are the people who should know this stuff the best. And so naturally, the community of people that follow Hank Green's work, the videos that he puts out to educate individuals, are not exactly the sorts of people that are going to take kindly to learning that the content that you're making that is supposed to be educational for other people is being driven using a tool that is known for A, getting things incredibly wrong, hallucinating and making up facts and sources, but B, on the whole of the things that it does get right is very much built on the backs of stolen research papers, artwork, information that other people have taken the time to put together and use. So yeah, sure, it could be as innocent as just, I wanted to Google these 30 research papers, but it was easier to let AI just dig through it for me and give me the information I want. But the second that you open that lid, the second that you start sliding that slope, the second that you open the door to a little bit of AI usage, it becomes difficult to argue against the level of the extended AI usage that you might not be admitting to, and also the fact that you kind of start to sound like AI starts to drive away at the authenticity of yourself. Because while you can admit that there is no AI that specifically wrote that line for you, the fact that it exists whatsoever doesn't take away from the fact that there might be some correlation between you kind of sounding like AI and you admitting to using AI, and we kind of just have to take your word that those are completely unrelated. Is it even your words at this point, or did Claude write that one? That's the issue. Now, if it were simply a matter of Hank Green admitting to use AI as a research assistant to help him dig through what can only be considered as like dozens and dozens of research papers, websites, and what have you, if you take a look at any of the videos that Hank Green makes, there are very clearly very well-researched topics. This guy is providing sources. This guy is referring to numbers and data. Even something as simple as why is it that Five Guys gives you so many fries becomes a very interesting look into how nutrients, cost effectiveness, marketing, and what have you goes into these videos. He does a very good job at researching the videos and the topics that he covers. And so if most people were to come to learn that he uses AI in an effort to try to, put all of these bits of research together in a way that helps him not have to do 100 Google searches when he could do 10 queries into Claude to do the searches for him, yeah, I don't think anybody's really getting upset at that level of AI usage. The issue is that Hank Green not only responded to this one individual on Twitter, but he also responded to the r/nerdfighters subreddit, which is the subreddit for the community he and his brother had put together, and provided a little bit more information on the extent of which AI usage has started to infiltrate his workflow. And this is where things just start to get a little bit more complicated. I'll save you the trouble of reading this entire post, but, I'll link it in the description if you want to read it for yourself. This is Hank Green 3 days ago responding to r/nerdfighters posting his tweet in which he admitted to using AI as a part of his research for that video and claiming that he didn't use AI to write the script for him. And a few key notes that Hank posts here. A, he apologizes and he didn't realize the amount of people that he had let down by admitting to using AI. He wants to step back from the number of videos that he's posting on his main channel. He has admitted that he feels as though his use of AI has only been a result of the fact that he has over-committed himself to posting as much as he has. So in an effort to try to streamline and bring his videos to a point where he's using less of it, or whatever goal it is that he's setting for himself, he's posting less on his main YouTube channel where he tries to post several times a week sort of thing, right? Which is good. You know, if your community is getting upset about you doing something and you're making strides in an effort to try to pull that back and better yourself, that is good. But in this long post, there are a number of more admissions Hank Green has when it comes to his usage of AI that feel a little bit more nefarious when you sort of tie them all together. I have been relying too heavily on AI as a research aid. It can be very useful for this task, giving me access to a lot of papers I didn't know existed really fast. And I think this has been to the detriment of my work, because it has not given me the freedom to find all of my own ways into and around a topic. This is the least criminal, I don't know the right word. This is the least memed upon aspect of this entire response, which is I have been using AI in an effort to streamline the hours that I spend Googling, reading through research papers, and what have you. This is the most forgivable version of using AI, which is AI is just better at reading through papers and giving me the information that I know is important. It is easier for me to go to AI and be like, hey, can you give me the answer to XYZ, rather than reading through 30 papers of a research paper and having to come to that conclusion myself. And that's true. That's perfectly forgivable. I don't even think anybody would take a look at that usage of AI as a research tool and come to the conclusion that Hank Green makes AI written videos, right? That's not so. It is very likely that you, the reader, and I disagree on how or even whether AI should be used. I think it makes sense for that agreement to exist, but I have always believed that my audience is more likely to be right than I am. You know what this feels like in a way that I can't, and I'm so sorry for diluting myself in a way and harming the thing that we have all built together. This is after a number of paragraphs talking about the nuance of AI usage. Basically, him trying to explain how he can make these videos talking about the downsides and the environmental impacts that AI has when it comes to data centers, water, electricity, jobs, and what have you, and then come to a consensus on how do you find it ethical to be using AI in your own work when you yourself understand the downsides that come with large language models and their impact on natural resources and what have you, right? This is whatever. But mostly I need to come to terms with the fact that the level of dopamine that I have been getting from interacting with large language models, with doing more and more and more, is not healthy for me or good for the world. It is careless, and it has disconnected me from where people are on this. And this is sort of the key reoccurring note that's been going on with this whole situation with Hank Green, is that his use of AI in that very specific first call out tweet of him using that phrase, and I appreciate the pushback, was more or less completely innocent on the surface. He did not use AI to script that video, though it kind of sounded like it. He uses AI for some of his notes, and he uses it to streamline the process of reading through research papers and Googling a million websites and what have you. That's completely fine. But it's Hank Green's admission that he feels like his use of AI is a problem, that he is too heavily reliant on AI. His own words, knowing his own research, is what leads people to delve a little bit deeper into this situation. From what Hank Green says about that initial situation, it doesn't seem like the entire video was written by AI. But he willingly offers up the fact that he does feel like there is an issue with the level of AI that he incorporates into his workload. And so that's basically Hank Green saying, hey, there's too much AI being used by Hank Green. And so that gives validity to everybody claiming that it feels like there's a little bit too much AI being used by Hank Green. And again, the fact that that one instance of him kind of sounding like AI and a number of other people pointing out different situations where they had to make corrections to things that Hank Green had gotten wrong in some of his YouTube videos all start to come together in a situation where it's like, hey, maybe a little bit too much AI in the background and the research is starting to bleed into the foreground, the final project, the script that you're saying. Maybe AI didn't write it, but AI is starting to speak it through your speech patterns a little bit. I was talking with Catherine last night, and she did not pull any punches. Frankly, neither did John. Neither of them think I've been being healthy. I need to readjust. Catherine Green, Hank Green's wife, and John Green, Hank Green's brother, according to Hank Green himself, have both told him that they both feel like his use of large language models, either in his personal life or specifically in the work he does for YouTube, think they are healthy, and he needs to readjust his use of AI. So not only does Hank Green seem to think that his use of AI in his own work has gotten a little bit out of hand, but his closest family members are telling him, you're using too much AI. We think you need to adjust how much AI is being used in your workload. Again, everybody's conversation around this topic seems to be a little bit nuanced in, hey, listen, everybody's using AI. Don't shit on Hank Green for trying to use AI to keep up with the pace of the internet. He's doing good in making educational content. He's one of the good YouTubers. You guys can't shit on him the same way you shit on people making AI Roblox slop. That's not the same thing, and that's true. But that also doesn't completely remove any of the issues that come alongside using AI in your workflow. And those issues seem to be personified by Hank Green stating that he feels like he's got some issues with how much AI is in his workflow. And I think we should all pay a little bit more attention. In this conversation, there is a lot of people bringing up other instances of Hank Green using AI in one capacity or another. 4x3, I believe, is some sort of online game that Hank Green has developed, and a lot of people have pointed to the fact that he stated a lot of that website was vibe coded using him and an AI large language model, as well as Hank Green stating that he used AI to tie together 2 different chapters of a book that he was writing, which is it's not like Hank Green used AI to write his book. He stated that he wrote 2 humanly written chapters and he needed a way to tie them together. So he asked AI to give him a number of options as to how that could be done. He considered those options and then he did it in a way that was completely human driven. But it still used AI to give him the ideas. You're already writing a book. Don't get mad at this. Don't get upset, Samet. Don't get upset. Be objective. Just provide the facts, right? You're an author. This is your forte. You already wrote 2 chapters of a book, but you needed an LLM to teach you how to tie those together, to help you think about how to tie those together, and you're just now coming to the consensus that maybe your use of AI has gotten a little bit too far gone? Are you sure? My issue with this is a little bit more nuanced than the takes that you'll find on Twitter and on Reddit. The vast majority of people have not read the entirety of Hank Green's responses to these matters, have not watched the entire interview of which is being clipped and people are claiming are AI. I feel like most people don't have the nuanced conversation that is necessary in order to talk about something like this, but I hope I have done an okay job of giving you the key points here. Now, major points set aside, right? Is Hank Green using AI in a way that most people would find distasteful? Is he scripting entire videos? Is he coming up with ideas? Are the words coming out of his mouth, or the ideas that are in his head largely influenced by AI? And the answer is we don't know. The answer is that according to Hank Green, his script was not written by AI. It just kind of sounds like it. But AI was only used in the idea creation and the research, and the final words are completely human driven. That human being Hank Green, someone who has admitted that there is too much AI influencing his workflow. So what conclusion do we now draw from that? Hank Green's book is 100% human written. He just needs AI to help him stitch some of the chapters together. Work that is typically done by an editor, somebody who has writing prowess, a human that you can hire to help you do exactly that. Could you not have asked your brother, the guy who's a published author, to help you stitch the 2 chapters together? Stop getting upset. Stop getting upset. Stop getting upset. Just give them the objective facts. The thing that upsets me thoroughly about this, aside from the fact that I have considered myself a nerd fighter for the better part of my entire adult life, Hank Green is somebody who I have looked up to as a role model, as a father figure, as an inspiration for the look at a camera and talk about something you find interesting, and hopefully a community of hyenas will also find that interesting and follow you. I have been behind Hank Green for a very, very long time, and I cannot help but take a look at the landscape that YouTube has become, filled with short-form scrolling vertical content, brain rot, AI slop, Claude-generated Wikipedia summaries of videos that are 50 fucking minutes long, getting hundreds of thousands of views, nay, millions of views, and feeling a little bit kept back. The one solace I have in this is the notion that I know that the work that I make is authentic and human, and I can only hope that one day enough authentic humans will see that in my work and will grow a large enough community that I can feel confident in continuing to do this work to one day achieve the levels of success that you have achieved, Hank Green. But as I look into the YouTube landscape and see AI infiltrating more and more of this dumb shit to the point where the YouTube algorithm has been nothing but AI searching through scripts to find the most family-friendly, advertiser-friendly, pseudo-educational bullshit and putting that in front of people's eyes rather than my own videos that take 100 times more effort and 0 times as many Claude tokens, and feel a little bit upset by the fact that you, Hank Green, have decided that it is okay to work this into your own workload in a way that it is now becoming detrimental. Now, I don't want to see Hank Green fail. I don't want to see any of the people that are doing honest-to-goodness, educational, and entertaining content on YouTube, admittedly significantly better videos than I have ever made in my life, fall by the wayside simply because they fail to adopt new pieces of technology that could very much streamline their workflow. But I would argue at this current point in time where AI is doing as much, if not more, damage to things like the YouTube AI algorithm, the system of which content is being put in front of people, the AI algorithms that are turning work into shittier work, algorithms into shittier algorithms, video essays and the content people make into shittier robot-driven bullshit drivel, and feel a little bit sad that somebody who isn't me is one of the pioneers of this website, has decided to partake in the very thing that is making this more difficult for smaller content creators to succeed. YouTube's AI implementation into their algorithms has made it damn near impossible for anybody to put out a video that's going to get more than 10,000 views unless it's got the perfect level of clickbait in the title, the thumbnails, the stupid artwork, the stupid expressions they need to make, the hashtags, the discoveries, the cross posts that get posted onto Reddit. If you're not playing the same game that Mr. Beast is, you're falling by the wayside. And Hank Green, you are somebody who is well beyond the level of any of the small content creators. I find it incredibly disappointing that you would play in the same game that is tearing apart the system of which you helped build on a fundamental level. I think you could use no AI for your work whatsoever. I think you can make slightly less videos. I think you can make slightly less polished or research videos. I think 10 research papers that you could read in a weekend is better than 100 research papers that Claude could sift through for you in a weekend. I understand the notion to want to put out more and more, but you have like 30 golden YouTube play buttons in your house at this point, man. Nobody is sitting around thinking Hank Green isn't doing enough, and they're certainly not going to think that if you slowed down a bit, especially if it meant maintaining the human authenticity we thought we were following you for. In conclusion, you're totally right for calling me out, and I really appreciate the pushback as we fine-tune this outro. This isn't just a sign-off. It's a strategic alignment for future algorithmic growth. Thanks for watching, and please consider subscribing to optimize your content stream. I hope this helped. Spisu.